Hey, how's it going? This is Chad Morris. Now I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite jazz guitars of all time, the Ibanez GB10. The Ibanez GB10 was developed by George Benson and Ibanez in 1978, and it was actually the company's first signature artist model guitar. George said he wanted something that played to his specifications right out the factory. And the GB10 is actually the longest running signature artist model in Ibanez's history. It was a design breakthrough, featuring a much slimmer profile than the traditional hollow bodies, as well as a thicker laminated top for feedback resistance. It is the smaller size of this instrument that is actually one of my favorite traits about the guitar. And when you sit it in your lap, it really fits like a glove. When I was in music school, my guitar instructor, Matt Greif, who's actually an excellent classical and jazz guitarist, he became interested in my GB10 and actually bought one for himself. We both agreed that it's actually the guitar's comfortable slim size that makes it a great hollow body guitar. I first encountered the GB10 when I was maybe about 11 or 12 years old. My dad and I went to McCabe's Guitar Shop in Santa Monica, California. We were both very, very big fans of George Benson, of course, and really considered him at the pinnacle of jazz guitar improvisation. I think my dad saw it on the wall, and it was in excellent condition, and it was outfitted with these golden flat-wound strings. It really set off the golden accents in the hardware. It was a pretty thing. It was kind of like a mix between a piece of fine jewelry and antique furniture. He put it in my lap, and I began to play around on it. But I can only liken the experience to a child trying to ride a huge 10-speed mountain bike after they just got their training wheels off. So the guitar was a little bit too much for me at the time, but I knew one day that I would own this guitar. So I have a little history with the GB10, and later I bought mine in 2009. But anyway, let's talk about this neck. So the neck on the GB10 is a solid 3-piece maple construction with an ebony fingerboard. It also features split block pearl inlays and a bone nut. The neck is actually pretty fast, and it has a good solid feel, and it's very comfortable. It did take me some time to get used to this neck and fretboard, but once I did, man, I fell in love with this guitar. The neck is not really as thick as you might imagine. Here's a comparison between the GB and the RG Wizard neck. Now, the Wizard neck is one of the thinnest necks that Ibanez produces. So you can see on the GB there's just a little bit more to hang on to, which doesn't inhibit playability one bit. I especially like the simulated wear on the backside. Let's go to the bridge and body. The bridge on the GB10 is inlaid ebony, but it also features a unique tension-adjustable split tailpiece that is gold die-cast, along with tortoise inlays. This bridge is very well made, and as I said earlier, the whole guitar feels like a piece of jewelry. It's beautiful to look at. The body's top is a 5-ply spruce binding, and the back and sides are bird's eye maple, the back being triple bound. The body is actually one of my favorite parts of the guitar, because it delivers that classic hollow body tone without the bulk of the traditional hollow body guitars. The 5-ply spruce top is set to lessen the feedback, and it does feedback much less than the larger hollow body guitars. The guitar is so well balanced, And when you put it in your lap, it literally hugs you back. So the GB10 features these twin gold Johnny Smith style floating humbuckers and a 5-ply beveled floating pickguard. And the tone coming off of this guitar, man, it's very classic, it's very iconic. The combination of woods along with these pickups produces a thick, rich tone with a lot of depth and definition, especially with heavy gauge flat wound strings. I'm currently using flat wounds on this guitar. They're 15s on the high E, which is a very, very thick string, and you're not going to be able to bend it more than a half step. And actually, they're pretty old, and I probably need to change them. But the GB is actually very versatile, and it supports a variety of tones. I mean, you can get a bright and brilliant R&B tone with some round wound strings. I think the guitar effortlessly supports the tonal gamut of jazz and blues. The neck pickup is really the only one I use, but it sounds fantastic. It's very present with every string well represented. I have from time to time used the split as well as the bridge pickup, which sounds good too. But really, the highlight of these pickups is the neck pickup. In fact, my sound for the GB is DI, or direct input, meaning I don't really use an amplifier for my recordings. I love the natural tone of this guitar without coloration from an amplifier. The only amp I found to satisfy my tonal preference was actually an acoustic amp. I bought it as a practice amp, but I realized that acoustic amps, keyboard amps, and I would imagine vintage bass amps really preserve the guitar's natural, beautiful tone. Let's talk about the hardware, electronics, and price. All of the hardware and electronics on the guitar are really solid and well made. The amber tone and volume knobs have a hefty, solid feel to them. The tuners are also very sturdy with a nice feel to them as well. The gold hardware is especially attractive, and the gold accents are a stylistic theme carried throughout the whole piece, from the tailpiece to the peg head. The guitar is truly a piece of art. It's a pleasure to play as well as to look at. Now let's talk about price. Depending on the model year of the GB10, you'll be paying anywhere between $1,200 and $2,200. The older models from the late 70s are of course a little bit more expensive. I got a deal on my guitar for $1,300 from a vintage guitar store here in the Valley. And when I ran the serial number, I found that I actually had one from 1985, which makes it only a year older than I am. My guitar was a bit of a fixer-upper because there were some issues with the tone knob. But once I took it to my tech and got a good setup on it, fixed the tone knob, I was happy. I think the GB10 is actually very well priced, considering the quality of the instrument. Okay, so wrapping up, the GB10. This is a really top-level instrument. Of course, it sounds amazing, but it's also well-made and it's well-balanced. It feels good on the hands. The only quibble I may have is with feedback, right? It's not a big issue, but feedback is an issue inherent to hollow body guitars in general. But if it weren't for the feedback, it would be a perfect guitar. So I'm going to give it a 9.8 out of 10. But if I were to design a hollow body, I would design it along the same lines as the GB10, a smaller hollow body, but I would add some feedback cancellation technology in the electronics, and then it would be a perfect guitar. So this concludes my review of the GB10. I'm going to be reviewing the RG470 I just picked up, as well as what's becoming my main instrument now, the Cordoba Orchestra CE. It's an acoustic electric nylon. So until then, this has been Chad Morris, and thanks for watching.